The Sandy and Toddcast is a MindgardenMedia podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Hey guys, it's me, Sandy.
And this is Dave, better known as #Poor Dave.
We don't always call you that. Anyway, in case you didn't know, Dave and I are part of a great new show called Empire Spirits.
It's where we hunt lots of ghosts in some of the most well-known bars and restaurants in central New York, along with a great cast
Of characters.
Yep, Bill Vinci, Michelle Klossick, Ryan Vinci, Lafayette Cunningham, and Heather Elias.
You'll be able to see each episode starting this fall on Facebook and YouTube.
Just like our Facebook page, Empire Spirits CNY, to keep up to date on the latest.
But we can't leave you without thanking our sponsors because, well, without them, it just wouldn't be happening.
So a big thanks to the Stife on Varick Street in Utica, Bill Vinci and the Empire Plate, Utica Coffee Roasting Company, and the Sandy and Toddcast.
We'd also like to thank Northeastern Roofing and Construction, northeasternroofs.com, Labella Flowers, that's labellaflowers.com, and Independent Artistry by Dawn Marie, independentartistry.dmf.com.
And we can't forget licensed real estate person Paul F. Sacco, 315-525-1377, with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, or Joshua A. Amodio with Priceless Inspections, Central New York's top choice home inspector since 2012, 315-525-8725.
Now, back to the show. Hey guys, welcome back to the Sandy and Toddcast. This is Sandy, and this week we're going to continue our discussion with the one and only Daryl Marston from the show Ghost Hunters. Last week we talked to him about some of his experiences, his ideas about ghost hunting and paranormal investigations, how he got started, why he loves it so much. This week we're going to talk to him a bit about his new book, The Horrors of the House of Wills. It's fascinating and really, really something that you'll want to look into. So let's get to part 2 of our interview with a ghost hunter. What are some of your favorite places that you've actually traveled to and investigated?
Favorites. I would say probably I fell in love with Clifton, Arizona. Haines, Alaska, of course. That was a huge episode. Same thing with Clifton. Waverly Hills was amazing. Just to get to investigate a location that's so well known.
Yeah.
Spend a week there and get to really kind of know the place and meet the people who run it and everything, and the people who keep it going. That was a very cool time. I've been to so many. I'm getting ready to head to England here in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Very nice.
For my book tour, so I can't wait to get over there. And they already set up a bunch of different locations they're going to take me to in the week I'm there. So you have to get back to me on that one because I might find something over there. The House of Wills, where I wrote the book.
Oh, without a doubt.
Well, and this is what's so weird is that Sandy and I were actually planning a trip to Cleveland for no other reason than it's kind of in between where we both live.
Okay.
And then we were talking about House of Wills and all this kind of stuff, and then you're writing a book about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just meant to be that we got you on to talk about this, or
I
if something else was in the works. But
that's how things work with that place, man. It people together, and sometimes it's one of those places.
Now let's talk about that. Now, what was your first experience with the House of Wills?
2014, when I was invited. I was actually, the crazy story was I was in Gettysburg investigating one night, and I had a couple people there that I just met who were, I'd become friends with, and they joined my team. They're from Akron, Ohio, which is maybe half hour, 45 minutes outside of Cleveland. And they tell me about this place. They're like, you got to come see this. We've investigated this place, and the stories they were telling me, I was like, there's no way. What?
Right.
And I'm like, okay. So literally maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, I'm on my way. I go. Me and one of my other investigators are with me, Keith. And we get there, and I tell you, this is back in 2014, and getting there and walking through the doors of that location. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but it's a whole nother world. It's an energy that I've never felt on any location, even to this day. And I've investigated over 400 plus locations, and I tell you, and don't get me wrong, I've investigated some dark places, some really really good places, but this is the one that stood out the most out of all of them. And it was an energy that was so strong in the building, and I can only explain it like. You walk in this building, and this is July, so it stays light out till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We got there around 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night, and we got into the building to walk the building. And one of the first, and this is all in the book, but one of the first things the caretaker, this gentleman named George, he was like, hey, when we go in, the first thing he tells us is we have to clear the building. And I'm like, and like, I'm thinking in my head, cause I'm a firearms instructor. I know what clear a building means. I didn't know if he meant it like that though. And I was like, you mean like clear the building to make sure there's no people in there? And he's like, yeah, we got to make sure there's no one in the building, because they've had a couple occasions where someone was actually hiding in the building who was who was not mentally right or something, and tried to kill one of the caretakers.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh.
So we went in, spent an hour. This location's huge. We spent an hour or so clearing the building, and it's set up like a maze inside. So there's so many different rooms. There's rooms inside of rooms, and it just took forever to do. So that was my first impression right there. Like, holy cow! All right, and then the energy of the building. You're walking through. It's daytime. The sun's out, but it's still dark. It's like midnight in the building, even with windows. It was such a dark energy, and it was like, man, we're in for it, or I'm in for it. I don't know. And then it comes time for investigating the building, and I don't want to give too much away, but
right.
What actually happened was something followed me home. I never had that happen before, especially up to that period. And I had something follow me home that played havoc on my life for a good 5 or 6 weeks. And it took a lot to get it out of my house. That's probably that's probably why it's my it's the one location that always stands out to me, and it's the one location that almost made me quit investigating altogether. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. I mean, I took some time off after the fact. I took about 2 months off, but it led me to where I'm at today. So it was a good thing.
Do you look? The history of that place is very interesting. I know that it was a funeral home, but the architecture in there, it's whoever created it, whoever designed this thing, it's almost like they had other thoughts than just building a building. Like some of those rooms are very, very intricate. You mentioned it's almost like a maze in there. Yeah. It almost feels like they had some other motive when they actually put this thing together.
Well, I mean, I spoke to a couple people, but I do, with researching the history and everything in the building, it was built by a 32nd degree Mason. He was an architect in Cleveland at the time. As a matter of fact, I believe it's either 28 or 29 of his buildings are still standing in Cleveland.
Wow.
That he had actually, designed and built. So you have that energy, and anything about the Masonic temple and all that stuff. They tried to create architecture that harnesses energy.
Right.
So you got that, and then it was a German social club, and who knows what happened during that time period. And then it was a hospital, and then it was rumored to be a speakeasy too, but we could not find any actual history on that. But if it was a speakeasy that was never found or busted by the authorities, it wouldn't be on the history books anyway.
So you've got literally layer upon layer upon layer of different types of energy, good and bad, light and dark energy going through that building all the time. Am I correct, Daryl, that today it's a community center?
It's being set up for a community center.
Oh, okay.
So then in 1945 it becomes Cleveland's largest African-American funeral home, all the way up to the early 2000s when it got shut down for fraud. And some people went to prison over that. It was a pretty bad thing to happen there. So the owner, Mr. Wills, had passed away in 1971. He's the one who actually turned it into Cleveland's largest African-American funeral home. And when he passed away, he left it to his kids, and they kind of ran it to the gamut and kind of ran it down. But it sat vacant for roughly 9 or 10 years until a gentleman named Eric Freeman bought the building. And this is all public knowledge. Eric Freeman is a high-ranking member of the new Church of Satan. So he purchased the location, and he brought some of his beliefs into the building. He moved some of his objects into the building. It's all in the book, what was witnessed and what we saw in the building, statues and things of that nature. So you have that on top of it, and you just have all this accumulation of good and bad building up over the years. Like you said, layer upon layer upon layer. There have been murders there on the property and things of that nature as well that are documented. So you have a lot of energy there. I think that's what makes the place so insanely active, and it's the only location I explained to people when people ask me about what it was like walking into that location, and I can only explain it to, and even Eric backed me up on this because I had to have permission for him to write the book, Eric Freeman. It's the only place I've ever walked into that feels like it's not so much haunted by just spirits or entities, but the location itself is a living organism. It's alive, and it uses the energy from the surrounding neighborhood, from the people who enter the building, and uses it to kind of, to feed its fire, to feed its furnace. That's what it feels like.
I mean, I've never been there. We talked about going. Obviously, I've seen pictures online, and just obviously photography. They're taking pictures to look a certain way. I don't know that I've seen anything inside a building that looks that freaky. Like it just looks like you'd walk in and definitely have the shivers right up your spine as soon as you walked in the place.
Someone pointed out to me a week or two ago, I was on a podcast, and we were talking about, the location, and because in the book, there's actually blueprints of the location. And what someone brought it up to me, which I really never thought of, if you ever read the Higher and Lower Keys of Solomon, it looks like King Solomon's, if you look at the blueprint, it kind of matches King Solomon's actual palace or where he lived.
Wow.
I'm starting to get goosebumps already.
That's pretty crazy. So what was your motivation? What made you decide to write this book?
Doing shows like this, where I've been doing, radio shows and podcasts for many years. And one of the softball questions you always get thrown at you is, what's your craziest location or your scariest event? And it was always House of Wills that came up, and I would tell the story kind of like I told you guys, and I would always get people saying, you should write a book about this. And so COVID hits, I'm kind of sitting around doing nothing. So one night I just sat down and started writing the book. 2 years ago, it would be 2 years ago in June, and I wrote the book, and Llewellyn Publishing Company worldwide picked it up, and now they're releasing it here September 8th.
Really, really looking forward to it. In fact, I was just seeing that it's on Kindle too, so that's something I can easily download on September 8th.
There you go.
You're talking about like the location having an energy of its own. I think when most people think of ghosts or spirits or energy, we think of a former living individual. But, again, listening to your story, my mind opens up a little bit more. Does it have to be somebody that's passed on? Does it have to be someone that, could it be a living person's energy that's hanging around, a building taking in all this other stuff, having its own? I mean, what are your thoughts on all that? Are we just dealing with dead people?
I think you're dealing with both there, and I explain it in the book. First of all, you got the layers and layers and layers of good and bad. You have the architecture of the building, the harness energy. You have Eric, who came into the building, about 10 years ago, purchased the building, and you have that, darker side of things. But I think what you have there is you have human spirits there, and you also have a location that is able to harness energy for whatever reason. And I think what's happening is you got to remember, it sat for 10 years vacant. You had a lot of bad things going down in that neighborhood. And you have all the people who passed away there, the bodies coming in and out. And also it was a good place too. They had, all kinds of community stuff there. It was actually, during the civil rights movement in the 1960s, Martin Luther King actually visited there and did a speech. So you have all this good that happened there as well. But I think what you got is you have, and it's something I've learned over the years, and we've seen on other investigations, where you have these entities that come in like these. They're not necessarily they had to die there, but it was like they came in, they kind of took over the place and made it their own. And it's kind of like there's a hierarchy. There's the boss, and then you have everyone below him, an alpha, omega, on down the line. And I think that's what you have there. You have like pretty much like a village. You have the chief who's running things, and then you have all these other entities that are running around doing all the dirty work, or the good work, or whatever you want to call it. And that's what you see there. Be honest with you, and I wrote that's all in the book. I explain that better for people who've never had that type of haunting, where there's many. Like, we did a place in Pampa, Texas. It was just like that, where it sat for 45 years vacant. It was a hospital, and these entities from wherever moved into this location and took it over, and they were just kind of running their thing. And all of a sudden, these people go buy it. They call us in, Ghost Hunters. We come in, and next thing you know, there's people in the building who are trying to figure out who they are. So like, you're getting this amazing, crazy activity, and you're catching all these shadow figures on camera, and this and that and the other, and so you have to kind of put it together, and that's what we came up with. Same thing with House of Wills. That's what I believe is there.
Anything non-human? Do you think there's anything non-human in there?
Quite possibly. Whatever I brought home with me was either it could be human, but I honestly think I only brought a part of it back with me. Mm-hmm. And I explain that where I feel like when I left there that day, back in 2014, I left a part of me there, a small part of me, and I brought a small part of it back with me. It imprinted itself on me. Right. And I think that's why it wasn't as hard to get rid of it out of my house, like a lot of these hauntings. Plus, I'm very strong-willed, so I fought it tooth and nail, and I caught it. I think I caught it before it got too bad. Like, I literally was feeling this pretty much the same day I got home. I felt like something was not right. And then when my kids started seeing it, started hearing it, and things of that nature, so I kind of got on it right away and took care of it. But I think that's what you have. Yeah.
Have you been back, or would you go back?
I did go back once, kind of in passing. We were actually up in Madison Seminary, up in Madison, Ohio, and we happened to be driving through Cleveland, and they're like, "Hey, let's stop the House of Wills. They're opening the doors for us." And I'm like, that's not a good idea. But I literally sat in the parking lot for about 25, 30 minutes before I would walk into the building. Like, everyone else went in, and I'm just sitting in the SUV. I'm like, nope, I ain't going in. And then finally, I'm like, I got to face this thing. So I went in. It was during the day. We were probably only there maybe an hour tops. But it was. I felt good to go there and kind of face it. And but nothing happened when I was there.
I feel like my entire career of investigating, there's just been all these aha moments where I learned something, and it could be something very small or something very large. And you bringing something back home with you, did you learn something from that experience? I think a lot of times we take our safety for granted when we go do these things.
What I learned from that was before that, I've been investigating at that point maybe 8 years, something like that. And I thought I've seen it all, blah, 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 whatever. I was very immature when it came to investigating. It humbled me as an investigator. It humbled me in a lot of different ways. And it it turned me around, and I started, I started taking it more seriously and having more respect. And the way I investigate these days, especially in the last 10 or so years, I go in as a complete observer. I'm almost walking on eggshells sometimes. I'll stand back and I'll feel out everything. I won't try to give you the same questions like, who are you? What are you? When did you die? Like, I literally, especially when I do these public events, I try to kind of instill that in the investigators so they kind of learn it. Don't open yourself up to whatever's there. It could be good, could be bad, who knows? But you don't want to open yourself up. And another thing I always tell them, what I learned was, don't ever bring baggage with you. And what I mean by that is, don't ever, if you're having financial, marital, health problems, you shouldn't go, especially with darker locations, because it will feed off of your energy, especially a place like the House of Wills. It will feed off of that, and it will use it against you. So that's kind of what I learned from it. Yeah.
I needed to have that conversation about 5 years ago. Was it, Sandy, when something followed me home? I needed your wisdom then, Daryl, but apparently I didn't have it.
I need some wisdom back then too, man.
It's something that I don't think anybody ever expects, but should be ready for. If that makes any sense. You should always be ready to protect yourself or take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, in any way that you can before you go into an investigation, because I think you just never know what you're going to encounter. Yeah. And each and every investigation, especially for someone like me who is open anyways, we were just talking about this before we started talking to you, that I'm going to take a little while off. I have an investigation tonight, believe it or not, but I'm going to take a little time off because it really can drain you and it can make you more susceptible to things. Yes. And you really need to take care of yourself before, during, and after any investigation that you do.
Absolutely, you do. I mean, you got to be ready mentally, physically, especially mentally. Physically too, as well, because it will drain you. But you got to have your head on a swivel when you're investigating, especially some of these crazier places. One of the stories I always tell people was, there's a location I went to in Kentucky called Anderson Hotel. I went there thinking this was a joke. That's the only place that I have ever been physically assaulted by something that I couldn't see. I went in there. Matter of fact, it was kind of weird because probably 5 or 6 months before we were there, Nick Groff had filmed Lockdown there. And so, you see what's on Lockdown and you're like, okay, whatever. We went, and it's the only place, like, I actually, toward the end of the night, I actually got thrown about 5 or 6 feet across.
Wow.
Wow.
I couldn't see. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel hands on me. All I felt was like a burst of energy. I heard something. I saw something out of my peripheral vision. And when I turned to it, it just blew me across the room. I was sitting on a chair. I was standing up from a chair at the time. And it blew me back on the chair. I smashed the chair. And I actually went back there maybe 2.5 months later to try to recreate what happened. And I couldn't. I never figured that one out.
I want to talk really briefly about the energy of the people you're investigating with and how important that is, or what you think about that. I think it's really important to have people around you that you trust, obviously, and who have similar energies as you. I think it helps you communicate, have communication with whatever's there. But again, there's some safety there to a certain extent if you have the right people around you. How do you feel about the energy of those investigating? What part does that play in the type of response you might get in any location?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You definitely want people around you who are well-grounded, know how to take care of themselves, who are not going to, open themselves up to whatever's there. I've been on investigations like that, and that's one of the things I think that happened at Anderson to me when I got thrown. One of the investigator who was with me was dabbling in some stuff that she shouldn't be dabbling in, and it opened up, something that that shouldn't have been opened up. But I do believe you should have people you trust with you, family, friends you investigated with, and you know their style, and that will have your back and know when to call it quits, when to walk away from something, and get out of the location. Definitely, yep. I think that's a must.
I think one of the lessons that I learned too is like have that plan to get out. Like know what needs to happen for somebody to pull the plug and say, we got to get out of here. Our safety's more important. Yep. Pack up, get the hell out. And I think the group that I investigated with for quite some time, we didn't know it until it was too late. It turned out to didn't turn out to be the spirits there. It turned out to be the humans involved with the location that we needed to get away from. But same thing, right?
Yeah. That's one of my big things in this field is like you come across it, not all the time, but you come across it every once in a while where it's not so much the spirits, it's the people involved in it. And that's scary. That's when things get real, because I'm more worried about the humans, not the dead. Because they're the ones, some of the stuff that some of these places do, or people who run them do, can be pretty frightening.
Are we gonna, obviously you're an author, writing some books, that type of thing. You're still investigating out there. Are we gonna see you on TV anytime soon with something new?
That remains to be seen. So
come on, we need more good shows that we can trust and enjoy.
That's right.
I feel you on that. I mean, I don't watch paranormal TV. I couldn't tell you who or what's going on. It's I know that sounds weird, being that being on Ghost Hunters or anything, and our show's still running. It's crazy. It's running on Disney Plus and all these different channels. It's some big company in Canada just picked it up, so it's weird. But yeah, we'll see. Who knows?
Never know.
I want something more definitive. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna allow it. No.
I told you he's fangirling over here.
I honestly, and I don't say this much, I don't know if I'd want to go back. I mean, honest with you, it's
why? Explain why.
Man, it takes so much time and energy away from you, your family. It's very draining, man, filming. I can't speak for all the shows. Believe me, I've seen some shows out there that look like they were filmed in someone's basement, or a garage, man. But what we did, if anything like that, it would take some time to think about, man, because it's so mentally and physically draining. Plus, you miss time, watching your kids grow up and things of that nature. I don't know. I mean, it would have to be the right offer with the right production company, on the right network, to be honest with you, for me to.
Your show was very cinematic too. The way they filmed that, it was just very, very cinematic.
Yeah, and that's kudos production. And tell you, our post was amazing. The stuff they would edit in the production. We had one of the greatest DPs in the business working for us at the time, Kendall, and the stuff that these guys would throw together, these cinematic views, like it would steal the damn show. It really would of some of the episodes. Yeah. Like, holy shit, dude. Leave a little bit for us. Dude, I feel like I'm watching a movie here. Like, I'm watching it, like I'm so taken in by like mountains of Alaska. Like, I thought I was even there. I'm like, oh, crap.
It's like I'm kind of secondary at this point. It's like I'm in there, guys. I'm in there. This is like, that's great though. But I totally get what you're saying though. Even Todd has done a show that's on Amazon Prime. I've done some internet-based shows. I'm doing one now. It's great, but at the same time, I think because for me especially, it's so personal that if I didn't have it, I'd still be fine. It would be okay. It's an amazing thing to do, but I'd still be great. And I'd still be living my life and doing my thing and investigating and having a good time.
Yeah, I'll never knock it.
Right.
It opened up so many doors for me. It took me from doing it as a hobby to doing it as a career. Well, a lot of people can't say that. And thankful for that. I've been very blessed in so many ways. And it opened up a door where, a lot of people fight to get someone to publish their book, where they were like, hey, yeah, Daryl Marston, we'll publish your book. Like, if it was before that, maybe it would have been me fighting with them and get my book published. So who knows?
Definitely opens doors, without a doubt. So one quick question before we ask you what's next, what's going on with the book. Is there a place that you've always wanted to visit that you haven't investigated yet? And B, is there a place that you're like, there is no way in hell that I would go to this place. I ain't doing it.
I've been asked that question, but I think I would love to investigate, and it sounds corny, the Amityville Horror House.
Yes.
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, it's been a myth and a legend for 50 years now. They need to let people in there to investigate it and to put it to bed. Just to be a part of that, definitely. And as far as places I would not do, any place where there's a war going on, I'm not going. So that's half the world right now.
Yeah.
So, it took a lot for them to get me to come to the UK, let alone.
So I just got back from Gettysburg last weekend, and
she gave me a nice T-shirt, by the way.
And he's wearing his T-shirt. And as usual, it was my third trip down. As usual, it doesn't disappoint. I had crazy things going on the whole time I was down there.
And she went to the outlet stores, which is
the
most
to the
important
outlet.
part of the trip.
And, I had, and can you give me one experience you had down there that was like amazing for you?
Oh, I love it. I've been there so many times. I only live 2 hours from it.
I know.
So I'll tell you one that sticks out to me the most. I was there with my wife. This is probably 10 years ago now, and I don't know if it's still allowed, but you were allowed to be on the battlefield till 10 o'clock at night. So we were out there. It's fall, so it's beautiful. It was around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, so it's dark, and we're doing some EVPs and stuff, just messing around. And I remember us doing an EVP session, and she was maybe 2 or 3 feet away from me, and she screams. And she doesn't get scared. She's one of those places, like if I take her on investigations, like, Hinsdale and places like that, where she just walks off by herself. I don't even know where the hell she is. I'm like, where's Melanie? She doesn't care. But whatever it was, she saw, she said it had like a face, like it had a cloak and like a skull face. She saw it. I saw her jump. But the crazy thing was, I got her out of there. We got in the car and we played the EVP, the recorder, and we got an EVP at the exact same time. She's screaming, saying, "Get out of here, girl."
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that was cool. But there's been times, like my go-to when I go to Gettysburg is Cashtown Inn. I love Cashtown.
Me too.
Yeah, I actually rented the place out for a week one time. I took my family there, and it was such a great time. We always have great experiences there. It's amazing.
We stayed it was 2008, and it was right at the beginning of when I was trying to learn how to investigate, actually investigate. And we stayed down there for a couple nights in the General Lee suite in the attic. Mm-hmm. And I'll send you the EVPs. You'll enjoy them. Set my recorder up on the dresser among all the other experiences I had in that room. Set it up, went to bed, and got some of the most amazing EVPs I think I've ever had in the Cashtown. Just unbelievable. I'll send them to you just so that you can listen to them. They're great. Actually talked to both John Zaffis and David Considine about them and played them for them, and they were pretty blown away. So I'll have to send them to you. Gettysburg never disappoints. I just got back from there, and I think it was Friday night. It was towards dark. We were over by Devil's Den, not quite by Devil's Den. And of course, they have little round top. You can't get up there now because of construction. And completely by ourselves. And to my left up the hill, I heard a rebel yell. I can't, explain it away in any way. I've gone crazy trying to.
Well, you'll hear a campfire and stuff there. It's crazy. I mean, like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. Like, it's such an active. I tell people, if you cannot, like, you can go to Gettysburg, you can get activity in a porta potty. It's just.
Depends where you ate the night before, but yes, I believe that's true.
But yeah, I'll actually be back there October 21st, I believe it is. Or no, sorry, October 28th. I'll be there. I have an event there in Gettysburg, and I haven't been there in about a year. I was at the Bash last year. I did that, but I haven't been back since, so I can't wait to get back there.
Just a wonderful place. Just a wonderful history-filled place. I was really happy to see so many families there and people bringing their children and teaching them about history, and so we could learn from history, because that's such a big part of the paranormal world and investigating is the history. And so it was just great. So here's an offer for you. I'm smack dab in the middle of New York State. If you're ever up this way, please let me know. I'd love to take you to some of the places that are off the beaten path.
She'll take you to all the outlet stores up here, so it'll be a great time.
Shopping and the paranormal, it goes hand in hand. So what's next for you? You said now the book's coming out very soon, September 8th. You're going over to the UK. Just going to do a big book tour? Is that the biggest thing you've got coming up for the near future?
Well, I put all my eggs in one basket, right? You know, the events and everything around the book tour. I took the summer off, just kind of hung out and did stuff around the house, trying to get, kind of know I'm going to be going a lot this fall. But it kind of kicks off September 2nd. I'll be at the Red Mill in Clinton, New Jersey for an event. I'll actually have my books there where you can buy them so people can come out.
Great.
Get signed autograph books or anything. And then the next weekend I'm at Hell House Paracon, which is up in Pennsylvania. I'll be there. And then I do a hard out the next day. I fly out to England for for a week and do a book tour out there and do the Festival of the Unexplained at the end of the week. It's a big Paracon they do out there.
It's great.
Come back and hit the road again as soon as I get back within a week or so, just traveling, doing all kinds of, book stuff and having a good time.
Well, again, thank you for doing the interview. Again, big fans here of your work.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the book, The Horrors of the House of Wills, coming out on September 8th. You can, go on Amazon and stuff like that if you want to order it ahead of time.
And we'll put some links in the show notes.
Sandy's going to get 2 copies, one for her, one for me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Of course. Anyways, well, we thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun, and I think it really gave us some insight from your perspective into the world of the paranormal and some of your experiences. So we really, really appreciate this.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and it was a great time, great show, guys. I love it.
Keep rocking the beard, okay?
That's right.
Keep rocking the beard. I got to get the stash to do that thing that you got going on, eh?
That's just me playing with it all the time.
Well, thank you so much, Daryl. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.